Okay.
So, hi there. I'm here today with my good friend Koko, who is a therapist. She's a tarot card reader, and she's also a shaman. And I'm excited to do this spiritual video podcast with her to talk about really interesting matters. And like to start with, we decided to share a bit of our own personal spiritual journey, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Good.
Do you want to say a few words about yourself and maybe share your
Hi.
spiritual journey?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Christina, for inviting me. It's really beautiful to be here and to be able to share with everyone in the community um, this this journey that we're all on. My spiritual journey started when I was quite young. I was about 5 or 7, and um, I'd gone I got lost and found child, and the process of being taken away, of being lost, being
Mm.
away from home was a traumatic experience for me as a child. And I think
Yeah, it's
that
when
got me,
you got lost from your parents, right? I think you told me that at one point. Yeah.
yeah, I was, well, I come from a big family. We're 9 of us. By that time, I was told we were sick. Well, I was told my elder sister, who was 10 years older than me, was sent out to go shopping in the market, and I was to accompany her. While we were out there, um, we got separated because the
Mm.
market place is always a busy place to be in. And yeah, that was my first experience of really tapping into the high consciousness, and, and knowing that we are all protected, and that energy of love, loving kindness and trusting. I was by a woman, and I was taken to the police station where my parents and my family came and found me. Now, that was a significant time of my life. I think that really shaped the way I got connected to my higher self, to spiritual practices. And for me, it was that experience of being lost, being alone in the world, but yet being comforted by something extraordinary, something
So
unknown.
can can you describe like what was the like a supernatural experience that you had when you got lost? Did you sense something? Did you feel anything?
Yeah, I felt like I was always protected. There was this feeling of being embraced, sort of something eh, like a ball of a light was just surrounding me. As a child, I could see it, but I don't know if the adults could. But that sort of protective shell was very prevalent as a
Mm.
child. I felt the presence of this energy that, of course, I couldn't express. I could not express it. But yeah, that was my first experience of. Sorry, somebody just tried to call me. I do apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my first experience, and my next experience of as coming in contact with higher spiritual beings was when I was about 19. I was involved in a car accident, and I went into a coma, and I had a out of the body experience.
Yeah.
Um, that was really strange. It was so profound, that experience, because I was in a coma for 3 days. But it was as if I left my body and traveled, sort of stepping to another zone. Um,
Mm.
another world, sort of like an alternative parallel world of some sort. Sort of, I was looking at my body lying down um, at the spot where the accident happened,
Mm-hmm.
but not only then. I've left, it was like I traveled, I left my body and I journeyed somewhere else in those 3 days. And coming back into my body on the third day was so profound because the hospital where I was kept, they were actually going to turn off the machine that was keeping me alive
Mm.
on the third day. And on that third day, I woke up and my life never been the same. I I became more sensitive. I was able to see things before they happen. Um, my intuition became really stronger, and it's just grown from then since. It's just constantly finding out what other superpowers is out there.
Did you see anything while you were unconscious? Maybe did you travel somewhere, have any experience in those 3 days? Like, did you meet maybe with a spirit guide, or like, did you have? Yeah.
Yes, I met with a spirit guide who I met with a guy who knew my name, knew all of my names. Uh, you know, when you register the birth of the child, you have like maybe two, three, four names. I don't know if you have the same where you come from, yeah, in your culture.
Yeah.
So this guide, okay, so while I was in coma, I journeyed. It felt like I was in a place like a garden, but not just a garden. It was endless space of well manicured garden,
Mhm.
something
Wow.
that I've never seen on earth. But if I was to sort of compare it, it would be like going to Pew's garden.
Mm.
But imagine that, like like it was just the whole world was like the whole new world was like this. And
Wow.
so
Like a paradise, sort of, right?
it was indeed like paradise. Yeah. So I journeyed. I kept. I saw myself walking with the there was no ground. There was no the ground was not as solid as ours. So it was almost like floating. And the endless well manicured fields of well manicured plants and flowers. And it was just like every plant was singing of joy, and it was so beautiful. I didn't want to come back. And it was like there was this giant source of light that kept just pulling me towards itself. And so I thought I would have a look around and see what else is there. It was so exciting. It was like,
Yeah, I mean,
you know, when
it sounds like a complete astral journey, isn't it?
it's just so beautiful. I didn't want to come back. It was like, I want to discover what else is over there. Well, whoa, what's there? Like, once I started to look around, my curiosity grew. I wanted to see more. And then this guide um, appeared to me. That's when he called all my names. It's like it was like he had my birth certificate in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And he just called
Yeah.
out all my names. I was like, whoa, who are you? It was like somebody, the guides, of course, our guides have always been there from
Mm-hmm.
from the minute we were born, even before we were born, from cradle to grave, really. So, um, and so I remember sitting down on a hedge of flowers, and I was told by my guides things that was going to happen
Mm-hmm.
to me, um, the work that I had to do here, and the reason that I wasn't ready to cross over, basically, and I was to
Okay.
return, and I was to return back to Earth. Yes.
Wow, that's so fascinating. If I remember correctly, I think you told me once this story before. Did you say you also saw your children?
Yes, that was part of the revelations, like the things that my
That,
guides
but yeah,
showed me,
but
things that was going to
your
come.
unborn children, your children before being born, basically, that you didn't have yet. So you saw your
Yes,
children. Wow.
I did. I did. This was shown to me. One of the things that my guide said to me was it was not my time yet to cross over because I had things to do. And now my question at that time, remember I was 19, I was young, I was practically a virgin. I had never known a man. And so the fact that I had these things to do, I was curious, what are the things that I have to do on earth, here on earth? And I was shown pictures of these children came to me. It was almost like the heaven opens and there's a picture in the heavens. And it was a baby girl. I was thinking, who is this child? Um, and then the other next picture was of a little boy, which I now have my children. That's just the sequence of having the first picture was of a girl and then a boy. And that's how the
Yeah,
children had come to me exactly in that manner.
that's like a
Uh,
prophecy almost.
yes. Yes, it was beautiful, but it's quite scary because at that time I was never known a man. And so the fact that they were showing me I was going to bring these children over, well, where is the man? But yeah, it's all very interesting, this parallel universe that
Yeah,
exists. Uh,
yeah.
and um, and the traveling that we're able to do
Mm-hmm.
back and forth once we understand how it works. And yeah, so that it's really what awoken me to spirituality.
Yeah, that's fascinating, really. A beautiful spiritual start, really, because afterwards, after 19, you continued your spiritual journey. And I'm curious a little bit, like, how did you continue it? What were the next things that you, revelations, so to speak, or things you learned?
Well, it was, well, the fact that I had started to, well, my intuition become quite wide open after this near death experience, which we call NED,
Mm-hmm.
NDE,
Andy.
near death experience. It seems that that really opened up a channel within myself that I became more sensitive. I became more, I sort of became not only sensitive to things and people and places, I started to receive more messages. I was able to know things before they happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that was quite scary at first because my parents didn't like it and my community didn't like it, the community I was growing in. I remember my mom would used to say to me, don't go telling everything that you see. Don't tell them they're going to think you're crazy. But that never stopped me because it grew it grew more and more and more. Excuse me.
Mm.
And also, I feel like the more I went into opening to spirit, listening to spirit, the more I'm able to connect almost to my past life. And it felt like sort of like my past life is really playing out in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Sort
Yeah.
of
our past lives are repeating themselves in all other
Yes,
lives. Yeah.
that is something that at first it was quite scary, but as time went by, I began to embrace it. And so I came into shamanism
Mm-hmm.
through that knowledge that some of my past life was actually playing out in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I had the understanding of working with the elements. And so I never really stopped really growing and learning.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, beautiful. Some of the things that you told me that you experienced after you said that you had your psychic abilities and that your mother was saying to not really tell everyone about them, or that your community was a bit scared. I remembered, I can relate to that. I remember when I was in school, I was in like primary school, I think. I was maybe 8, 9, 10 years old, and I could see spirits, and I could see the spirit of an old man, for example, that was around the school. And when I told like my friends about it, I remember like my friend's mom came to school and she told my mom that I was scaring her daughter, and things like that. So like me too, I learned that I had to not share these things. And I could hear like noises and like see like shadows and entities. And when I was young, and when I would tell my father, for example, he would say that I'm just imagining things, basically. That's, oh, you're just, this was the door. Here you go. This was the door noise, but it wasn't the door, and stuff like that. So yeah, he would just say I'm imagining things. So me too, I had to hide a lot of the abilities I had, because I felt like people were not very, not, yeah, understanding, or they weren't really telling me what was going on. So I grew up basically with not having anyone spiritual around me or tell me about these things. And I suppose with you it's a bit the same, isn't it?
Yes, it was quite difficult not having anyone to really talk to and to really show you what to do about these things, when it comes to purification, cleaning your space, doing shadow work,
Mm-hmm.
um, protection and stuff like that, or even recognizing your own energy and um, how you can, because we all have the seven rights, we all have this spirit within us,
Yeah.
and it's about getting to know that spirit and working with it,
Yeah.
uh, and really, really listening and opening to spirit. And that's how we grow. We grow in
Mm-hmm.
spirit, just like we grow here. Like when you go to school, then you get to go from one class to the other. I believe this is the same in the spiritual world. That once you open into spirit, you begin to sort of graduate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I think it's through experiences, especially that a person starts their spiritual journey and continues it. They learn through the experiences they had. Because for me, if I would not have had a lot of spiritual experiences, I would have never learned, about a lot of things. I would have never known about them. But because of the experiences I had, they kind of pushed me to understand and to see and to learn more.
So how did yours happen? How did you get
Mm,
into, sorry, I just get my water. How did
yeah.
you get into your spiritual experience? When was you first awoken to know that this is your path?
Mm. Well, I had this ability since I was a kid to actually, like I said, see spirits and sense energy. And there's a lot of experiences I had when I was a child. I could talk a lot about it. But like I said, they were shut down because my parents did not tell me what they were. They were not believing in them. I could not really share them with my friends. So I think the first time I actually started to embrace a spiritual community and a spiritual path when I was 17 or 16, something like that. It's when I started to do yoga. So that was a major turning point for me, because I remember I went into a yoga community that was not just like it is today. You know, yoga today is a bit of like a gymnastics, aerobics, stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's more for the body. It's very short time, like for example 45 minutes, an hour. The spiritual part is often lacking from today's yoga courses. You're
Yes,
also a yoga teacher, so I think you know that very well.
yes, definitely. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah, so when I started yoga, I went to a class where they had like a proper yoga session with spiritual understanding. They had the first part of the class was with asanas, so with the physical part, and of course explained and with teachers supervising you and everything. The second part of the class, we were all in circle, and the teacher was telling us each week about a spiritual lesson. And that was so fascinating for me because it was the first time that someone was telling me about the chakras, about energy, about purification, about a vegetarian diet. So it was like the first time I was hearing about these things, and I felt like part of a community that of people that were believing in things that I was believing in, and I could resonate with them. So it was like a proper like 3 hour yoga course. Like it lasted for 3 hours on a Sunday, and it felt
Wow,
like a spiritual community. And really, that was the turning point for me. When I really embraced spiritual matter, so spiritual matters.
that's amazing. Yoga itself is beautiful because yoga really stands for the union of body and mind and spirit. It's that bringing everything together, and you obviously experience that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, it's not the way it's taught anymore. You have to
yeah.
really seek that aspect of yoga, connecting to Kundalini, your chakras,
Mhm.
managing energy, breathing. It's all of this is part of spiritual practices.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's so fascinating. Like, I remember when I first started yoga, I could feel energy in my body, in my hands. I could feel my palms buzzing. I could really feel this energy moving in my body. I could really feel a shift. And I remember I was waking up at 4 a.m. at in the night, basically, or in the morning, like 4 a.m. To meditate, because they told us that between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., that is the best part of, well, the day, to
Yes,
basically, or the 24-hour cycle, when the energies of the earth are best for you to absorb them. So you connect best with the earth, with the universe, with the universal energies between that time. So I was actually doing that. I was basically waking up naturally at 4 a.m. And for about an hour, I was doing like my postures, I was meditating. It was all nice and quiet. I remember I could really feel that peacefulness. I could really feel that energy. And it helped me connect with my higher self when I started doing that. I was in high school, and it really helped me get through high school, to be honest, which was a bit of a nightmare for me because I felt like I didn't really belong, like people weren't really spiritual.
yes,
Yeah, so it really helped me become myself when I started doing this. And from there on, of course, I had like a lot of spiritual experience that happened after.
that's beautiful.
Do you,
How do you
yeah, go
go?
on.
No, you go on. You are the
No, I want to ask you if you want to ask me anything else about my spiritual journey, maybe.
Yes, I would like to. How did you progress from once you know what you knew as teenager and you found the yoga community? How did you then progress to where you are right now? Because I know that you've done a lot of spiritual teachings. You've done you are a psychic yourself, and you've done a lot of healing work, and you've been
And
working
workshop.
with
Yeah.
workshops that you've been doing, which is spiritual and enlightening and teaching people how to connect. How did you get in this sort of line of work?
So what happened after is that I had a lot of spiritual experiences, like a lot of encounters, and some of them were not very pleasant, and this
Oh,
is what happens sometimes,
yeah.
that's what pushes you forward, that's what makes you learn about these things. So I met some people who were like energy vampires. They were entities incarnated. I have karma with them from other lives, basically. So one of them was a lady when I was 19. So the next thing, I think the major thing that happened for me was when I was 19, I was in an airport with my mom, and I suddenly met this lady who said she was drawn to me in the airport. And basically she was a widow. I was very empathetic, as well, like I am, I like helping people. So I felt like I wanted to help her, and she kind of like relied on me emotionally, and I was trying like to comfort her, to spend some time with her, because she was crying all the time and that. And basically it turned out that she was like a complete nightmare, an entity. She tried to control my life, then to control my parents' life, to take me
What?
away to France because this lady was French. Turns out that she was an entity. And what happened in this time, like about 2 years while she was in my life, 2 or 3 years, is that I could see a few things that were really paranormal. So, for example, we would all, like me, like say my parents and her, would sit in the dining room